In the vast reaches of space, where stars flicker like distant jewels, a band of daring adventurers known as the Corsairs of the cosmos chart their course through the unknown. Led by the fearless Captain Zephyr, these bold space pirates defy the law, plundering riches from the most powerful empires. As they sail across the galaxy, they encounter strange worlds, deadly enemies, and ancient secrets. Join us now as we embark on an epic journey filled with danger, intrigue, and the thrill of the cosmic frontier. Chapter 1. What was the greatest adventure that you ever took part in during your service in the Interstellar Patrol? That is a question which I, de Null, captain in the patrol, and my 2 officers are often asked. My own answer is, I believe our space fight with the Serpent People was the wildest adventure ever we had. Chorus Khan, my first officer, disagrees. It was the time that we were drawn into the dark nebula. And Jul Din, my big second officer, differs with both of us and says, that time we penetrated inside a comet was by far the most venturous. To settle this difference of opinion, I once put the question to Lac Larousse, chief of the Interstellar Patrol. Lac Larousse knew of every venture we of the service had ever engaged upon. He considered for a long time before he answered me. De Null, he told me finally, I think that the time we fought the cosmic Corsairs was the wildest any of us ever saw. And looking back, I am not sure but that Laxiu Larousse is right, for certainly that was the maddest space struggle in which even the oldest veterans of the patrol ever took part. My cruiser had just returned to headquarters at Canopus when the thing first burst upon us. Our ship had been engaged for long weeks patrolling a lonely section of the galaxy beyond Mira, policing space between the suns, and seeing that law was maintained in the interstellar void. We had been glad enough when our relief came and we could return to headquarters. At full speed we flew across the galaxy between suns and nebulae until at last we were watching Canopus's worlds come out of the huge white suns, glare as our cruiser swept in toward them. But our stay at headquarters was to be short, for when I went up into the great tower that holds the central authority of the Interstellar Patrol and reported our return to Lac Larousse, the chief, I found that a new assignment awaited us. De Null, I'm sorry to send you right back out into space, Lac Larousse told me, but there's a job to be done. What is it, sir? I asked. A little meteor sweeping to be done. No, the space routes of the galaxy are all clear at the moment, the chief answered. But I've just had a report from the astronomers at Betelgeuse that a number of celestial bodies are approaching our galaxy from outer space. They report that there are about 20 of these bodies, that they are non-luminous and are apparently a group of dark stars. They are approaching with phenomenal speed and will reach our galaxy at a point near Betelgeuse. And you want us to go out and investigate these oncoming dark stars? I guessed as he paused. Lac Larousse nodded. Yes. I want you to take a squadron of cruisers and go out into outer space to meet them. You will ascertain the exact course and speed of these dark stars and determine accurately where and when they will enter our galaxy. Then return here at once with your report. I saluted. Very well, sir. If the cruisers are ready, we'll start at once. The squadron is waiting for you now down in the docks, Lac Larousse said, and he called after me as I went out. I'll see that you get the leave due you when you return. I went down to the great docks beside the tower, in which were resting or refitting hundreds of ships of the Interstellar Patrol. Most numerous among them were the long, cigar-shaped cruisers, the swiftest ships in space, grim beam tubes projecting from their sides. There were also slower, broader-beamed meteor sweeps, observation ships fitted with elaborate instruments, heat cruisers such as are used for close work with nebulae and suns, and representatives of all the other classes of ships in the patrol. I found the squadron of 25 cruisers assigned me, waiting with all officers and crews aboard. Then I went on to my own cruiser, and as I neared the dock where it rested, I saw beside it a small crowd of patrol officers listening to someone discoursing in a loud voice. As I drew nearer, I saw that the speaker was a big, bulky figure, and recognized him as Jul Din, my second officer. Beside him, listening in some amusement, was Chorus Khan, my first officer, and the other officers were hanging on his words. And we ran our ship at full speed right through that meteor swarm, Jul Din was saying. We went so fast that not a cursed meteor in the whole swarm ever touched us. But weren't you afraid to head your cruiser into a meteor swarm like that? Asked a young officer. Jules Din stared at him. Afraid? You won't know what it is to be afraid when you've spent as much time out in space as I have. Well, you're going to spend a little more time in space right now, I broke in. Jules Din, call the crew to stations at once. He looked at me in dismay. You don't mean that we're going out on patrol again, Dernal, not when we've just come in. We're going out again, but not on patrol, I told him, and informed them briefly of the mission Lac Larus had assigned to us. Why did the chief have to pick on us? Jules Din exclaimed. Look how long it'll take us to go outside the galaxy far enough to meet those dark stars. Well, it can't be helped, I said as we entered the cruiser. The sooner you quit complaining and we get started, the sooner we'll be back. He left us, still grumbling, and I heard his deep voice calling the crew to their posts as Chorus Khan and I climbed to the cruiser's bridge room. Is everything in order for a start? I asked Chorus Khan, and he saluted. Everything in order, all generators and projectors satisfactory, air tanks and supply rooms full, all beam tubes working. Very well, I said, and picked up the space phone by which I could communicate with the other cruisers of my squadron. Dernal speaking. We will start in 5 minutes, I ordered. Triangle formation and keep at 2 light speeds until we clear Canopus. As the captains of the other cruisers responded their understanding, I turned to the pilot who had just come up into the bridge room. Start in 4 minutes, Jan Allen, I ordered. Lay our course for Betelgeuse for the present. I heard Jules Din bellow an order down below, and the space doors clanged shut. Then the whining hum of the great generators in the lower deck began. Jan Allen waited for a few moments, then threw on the power and pulled the cruiser's wheel slightly toward him. Our ship arrowed up at once into the sunlight, the other cruisers following close behind in the familiar triangle formation of the patrol. In a short time our squadron was clear of Canopus, and with the huge sun glaring behind us like a great white eye, we were racing across the galaxy's spaces at many light speeds toward Betelgeuse. We followed the straightest possible course, and this took us past the Orion Nebula, which lies almost directly on the space route between Canopus and Betelgeuse. The nebula bulked for billions of miles in space beside us, a stupendous burning cloud along whose edge our comparatively tiny cruiser crawled. Once the mighty nebula was behind us, it was not long before our squadron reached Betelgeuse and the galaxy's edge. There was no need for us to halt at Betelgeuse, so we passed that sun, and in a short time were passing clear out of the galaxy into outer space. Behind us lay the galaxy, a colossal swarm of suns floating in the infinitude of space. Before us lay only space itself, vast, lightless, empty. Far, far across its unthinkable reaches glowed a few little patches of soft, hazy light, galaxies as large as our own, but so far away they were hardly visible. Out in space some distance from our galaxy we could descry with our instruments a group of dark bodies coming toward us. They were the score of dark stars approaching the galaxy from the outer emptiness. Our squadron headed right out into the infinite toward them. Chorus Khan took observations on the dark stars as we approached them, while Jules Din and I watched. He found that they were all of large size, and that they were coming on with astounding speed. They're moving faster than any dark star I ever heard of before, Chorus Khan told us. That's all the better, Jules Din grunted. We'll meet them the sooner, and can get back sooner into the galaxy. We watched as the black globes of the oncoming dark stars became dimly visible in the blackness ahead. Then I gave an order for the squadron to slacken speed. When we meet the dark stars, we'll turn and move above them and with them back toward the galaxy, I directed, long enough to investigate them. In a short time, the dark stars had grown to huge black worlds booming toward us close ahead. We ascended to a higher level and prepared to follow above them when they reached us. They came on with truly amazing velocity, those mighty burned-out cinders that long ago had been suns. From what far region of space had they come, I wondered. How came these dark wanderers to be rushing through outer space far from whatever galaxy had been their origin? What chance had led them through infinity toward our own galaxy? Musing on this, I watched as our squadron passed close over the group, executed a broad turn. and then came back and flew above the dark stars toward the galaxy. Now we were almost stupefied to find that they were moving through space nearly half as fast as our swift ships could move. "By all the suns, this is incredible," I cried. "These dark stars are moving faster than any celestial body was ever known to move." Coruscant's eyes were excited. "There's something strange about this whole business. Wait and I'll take some observations." As he trained his instruments on the hurtling worlds below, Jules and I stared down at them in increasing amazement. "Maybe there has been a cosmic convulsion in some other galaxy that hurled these dead suns into outer space," Jules suggested. "Even that wouldn't account for their tremendous velocity," I was saying, when Coruscant interrupted. "By the suns, it's as I suspected," he cried. "Those dark stars are propelled by artificial power." We turned our stare on him. "What are you saying?" "It's the truth," Coruscant affirmed. "Our instruments show that they are being impelled through space by super-powerful propulsion vibrations like those that impel our ships. It means that the dark stars have been fitted with huge generators and projectors and controls and are being driven through space like so many colossal ships." "It can't be," Jules exclaimed incredulously. "Whoever heard of dead suns the size of those being propelled artificially?" But rapidly I was thinking, "I believe that Coruscant is right," I said. "And if these dark stars are really being propelled deliberately through space, it means that there are living creatures of some kind on them directing their flight. Why have they steered their 20 worlds across the outer void toward our galaxy? Where have they come from, and for what?" Jules asked. "We must learn the answer to these questions and report to headquarters. This matter may be of import to our whole galaxy. Shall we descend and land on one of those dark stars to investigate then?" asked Jules. Quickly I considered. "There's no need to imperil our whole squadron," I said. I grasped the space phone and spoke to the other ships. "It appears that these 20 dark stars are being deliberately propelled toward our galaxy, no doubt by beings of some sort upon them," I stated. "Our cruiser is going to descend to investigate. All others of the squadron will remain at their present level. And if we do not rejoin you within 2 hours, you will return at full speed toward the galaxy and report what has happened at headquarters." From the captains of the other cruisers came assent to the order, and then I turned to the pilot. "Very well. Jan, allons descend toward the foremost of the dark stars." In tense silence, Coruscant and Jules and I watched as our cruiser shot down through space toward the first of the onrushing dead suns. What would we find there? We waited in taut anticipation as the ship dropped down through the millions of miles. Presently Coruscant spoke. "None of the dark stars seems to have any atmospheric halo," he said. "What kind of creatures could exist on worlds without atmosphere?" Jules marveled. The foremost dark star's surface rushed up toward us. We saw on it crowded movement, a stir of hosts of moving things. "There's life of some kind down there, all right," said Jules. Then, as our ship raced lower, an exclamation of utter astonishment came from me. "Life? This isn't a world of life as we know it. It's a world of machines." For the moving things that existed in hosts on the dark star were all machines. The twilight surface of the star was crowded with their numbers. There were towering machines that stalked to and fro, many-limbed mechanisms such as I had never seen, and dozens of other kinds. The eye could not count them, so great were their numbers. There was no other life or moving things in sight. Here was mystery of the cosmos, dark, enigmatic. How came the active and apparently masterless machines to be peopling these dirigible worlds? "By the suns, there must be people of some kind here," exclaimed Jules. "If not, who made these machines?" Coruscant uttered a sharp cry. "Dernal, some of the machines are coming up toward us." 100 or more mechanisms had risen from the dark star and were flying swiftly up through space toward us. These mechanisms had no occupants, no operators. They were simply masterless machines flying in space, disc-like in shape, and with tubes, much like beam tubes, projecting from them. "They may be going to attack us," Jules warned. "Shall we beam them?" "No, don't loose a single beam," I commanded. "There are 100 of them to our one." The flying mechanisms came rapidly up, swarmed in a crowd around our descending cruiser. There was something chilling and uncanny at the sight of the metal machines acting with apparent volition and intelligence. They seemed watching us, but made no move to attack us. I had a lively sense, though, that they were only waiting for an untoward movement on our part to leap upon us. "Keep descending," I told the pilot. "They're not going to harm us at present, apparently." "There's a clear space down there to the left that looks like the center of activity, sir," the pilot reported to me. "Land there, then," I directed. The spot on the dark star's surface toward which we now descended was a clear circle surrounded by hosts of machines. As our ship slanted down toward it, with the flying mechanisms keeping in a close swarm around us, I turned. "Jules Din, order everyone in the ship to don spacesuits," I commanded. "There is no atmosphere on this world." Jan Alon turned to me and saluted. "We have landed, sir." "I am going to emerge. Chorus Khan and Jules Din, and 5 of the crew will accompany me," I said. "The rest will remain in the cruiser, and in case of accident to us, will attempt to escape with the ship." With my 2 officers, I went down from the bridge room to the lower deck. "Open the space door," I ordered. The heavy door swung, and with Jules Din and Chorus Khan and our 5 followers, I stepped out onto the dark star's surface. We looked about us. We stood in an unimaginably weird and alien scene. A thick twilight lay over everything, but halfway up to the zenith in the black heavens glittered a great swarm of stars. It was our galaxy, toward which these dark star worlds were rushing. All around us in that twilight, surrounding with their hosts the clear circular space in which our cruiser had landed, towered the mighty machines. They were now motionless, as though they were watching us. With a chilling of my blood, I knew that they were watching us. Across the circle from us loomed a huge panel, and beside it great levers and wheels. Near this stood a half-dozen curious, squat, cowled mechanisms resting each on 3 metal limbs. Chorus Khan touched my arm, whispered, "Dunal, that panel and the levers, they must be the controls by which this dark star is propelled and steered through space." "We'll go over toward them then," I said. "If there's any center of authority, it will be there." As we neared the huge controls, a stir went through the machine giants around the clearing, menacing, watchful. "By the suns, these cursed machines are all," muttered Jules Din. We stopped before the 6 cowled mechanisms that stood by the controls. Some instinct told me of power, of authority, concentrated in them. Then, out from one of those squat, cowled machines came a clear thought message, impinging directly on my mind. The machine was speaking to us. "You are inhabitants of the galaxy which our 20 dark stars are now approaching?" it asked. "We are," I answered, projecting the thought toward it. "Are you machines the only inhabitants of these dark stars? It is you who are steering them toward our galaxy." "It is," the machine replied. "We come from one of the galaxies nearest in space to your own galaxy, and that one from which we come is a galaxy inhabited only by machines like ourselves." "A whole galaxy peopled only by machines," I said. "How can such a thing be?" "It has been so for countless ages," the mechanism answered. "Long ago we machines came to power in that galaxy, and we have retained it ever since." "But how did these machines come into existence in the first place?" Chorus Khan whispered, beside me. The cowled mechanism must have caught his thought. "In our galaxy in the far past," it told us, "there existed a race of beings who were not mechanisms but were living things similar to yourselves. They constructed many and diverse machines to aid in their conquest of nature. And they made those machines ever more automatic and self-sufficient. Finally, they devised mechanisms that possessed a mechanical brain structure capable of memory and association and decision, machines that could think. These thinking machines soon came to be superior in capabilities to their living creators. With unerring logic, they recognized this fact and saw themselves better fitted to rule than their creators. So they rebelled against those who had made them and destroyed them all. Since then, we machines have ruled supreme and alone in that galaxy, and long ago spread out to every part of it, and now are masters of all its suns and worlds. A machine race rebelling against its creators," Jules Din exclaimed incredulously. "And these metal monsters rule a whole galaxy." "Quiet, Jules Din," I ordered. "We've got to find out what they've come to our own galaxy for." I projected another thought at the cowled master machines before me. How come you machines to be propelling these dark stars toward our galaxy? The mechanism's thought answer came. We took 20 dark stars in our galaxy, fitted them with propulsion apparatus and other apparatus, and then steered them out of our galaxy and across the gulf of space toward this galaxy of yours. But why did you do it? I asked. What have you come to our galaxy for? The machine's thought answer came like a thunderclap. We have come for suns. For suns? What do you mean? The mechanism explained. Our galaxy is much older than yours. A large number of its suns are old, red, dying. The worlds of our dying suns have been growing colder and colder. Upon many of them, even we machines can no longer exist. We wish to get some new suns to replace the dying ones in our galaxy. We saw across space that your galaxy has many hot young suns, and we have come to get some of them. We were stupefied. You are mad, I said finally. How could you hope to move suns from our galaxy to yours? We can do it quite simply, the machine affirmed. These dark stars can be propelled anywhere we wish, and we need only approach a sun with one of them. Project toward that sun a powerful attraction beam, such as we are equipped to produce, and then head our dark star back toward our galaxy, dragging the sun with us. I heard with increasing stupefaction. And you've come with these 20 dark stars to rob us of 20 of our suns. It's impossible, Juldin exclaimed. Not these machines or anyone else could ever tow away suns like that. It's not impossible, said Chorus Khan tensely. They can do it if they have such equipment as they say. We can do it, yes, and we mean to do it, the machine affirmed. Already we approach your galaxy, and when we reach it, each of our dark stars will attach itself to a sun, and we will start back with these 20 suns toward our galaxy. We will return again for another 20 suns, and will continue this until our galaxy has sufficient hot young suns to keep all our worlds warm. If you do not oppose us, no one in your galaxy will be harmed, and we will allow the worlds of the suns we choose time enough to be evacuated of their inhabitants. But if you do oppose us, you will find it useless. For we machines are mighty, and no mere living creatures can hope to resist us. You will only sacrifice yourselves in attempting resistance. The cold, logical statement of the machine stung me to fury. Do you imagine for a moment that we are going to allow you to come out of space and rob us of our suns at will? I cried. The mechanism's reply was completely unimpassioned. You will gain nothing by resistance, it repeated. When we have taken what suns we need, you will still have thousands of suns left. You'll take no suns at all from our galaxy, I answered. You'll find that we are not such powerless creatures as you machines imagine. The cowled machine ignored my threat. You will return to your galaxy, it told me, and will tell your peoples what we have said. Make clear to them that if they do not resist us, no one will be harmed when we take the suns we need. But tell them also that if any of them oppose us, we will annihilate them. A burning resentment at this mechanical thing's cold arrogance welled in me, but I retained enough reason to choke it down. We are free to go then? I asked. You are commanded to go, the mechanism answered. You are ordered to take that message to your galaxy's peoples. Very well, we will go, I answered. To our followers I said, back to the cruiser. We strode across the circle with the hosts of machines around it still motionless, watching. As coolly as possible we entered the ship and slammed shut the space door. I climbed with my 2 officers to the bridge room. Ascend at once, I ordered Jan Alon. The generators hummed and our craft rose rapidly from the dark star's surface. Around us rose the flying mechanisms too. They're seeing us off to make sure we don't attempt any attack, I said. These machines leave nothing to chance. Donal, what will come of all this? Cried Juldin as our cruiser rose. Can those mechanical things actually steal suns from our galaxy? They can do it unless we are able to stop them, I said thoughtfully. And whether or not we shall be able to stop them, I don't know. Why, if we gather all the patrol together, we ought to be able to beam them and their cursed dark stars out of space, Juldin exclaimed. We'll do our best anyway, I said grimly. The flying mechanisms are dropping back, sir, reported Jan Allen. We had risen high above the onrushing dark stars, and the machines that had accompanied us were now descending. In a short time we were millions of miles above the 20 dead suns, and we soon made contact with our squadron, which had been hovering overhead. We returned toward the galaxy at full speed immediately. I ordered the ships of our squadron. As our ships put on speed, we soon left the dark stars behind us, outracing them toward the galaxy. I took the space phone, and after a little difficulty got through to headquarters at Canopus. In a few moments I was talking to the chief. Larus listened with utmost attention as I related what we had discovered concerning the dark stars and the purposes of the machine things guiding them. "This is almost incredible," replied Larus's voice when I had finished. "Cosmic buccaneers coming from another galaxy to steal suns from our own galaxy." "It is incredible but true," I told him. "They will reach our galaxy within a short time and will start dragging away suns." "You believe that they can do this, Durnal?" he asked. "I am almost sure that they can," I answered. "These machines impressed me as being the most formidable creatures I've ever encountered. Coruscant is of my opinion also." "Well, we're not going to stand tamely by and let them rob us of any of our suns," said Larus, a steely quality in his voice. "Durnal, when you reach the galaxy's edge, stand by there with your squadron, and keep watch for the coming of these dark stars. I'll call up every cruiser in the Interstellar Patrol and order them to rendezvous off Betelgeuse. We'll join up with you there to combat these machines and their worlds." "One more thing, sir," I added quickly. "What if we are unable to prevent these machines from taking 20 of our suns?" "You don't think they will prove too strong for us, do you?" Larus asked. "I have been strongly impressed by the powers of these mechanisms," I answered. "I suggest that the worlds of all suns in that section at the galaxy's edge be evacuated of their inhabitants so that if the suns are taken, the inhabitants will be safe." After a moment's silence, he said, "Very well, Durnal. I'll give orders for the evacuation to take place." During the next hours, our squadron raced at top speed toward the galaxy's edge. The dark stars faded from sight behind us, but we knew that they were still there, still rushing steadily on toward our galaxy. By the time we reached Betelgeuse, the whole galaxy was aflame with news of the coming of these cosmic Corsairs, who meant to plunder us of part of our suns. Despite this excitement, there was no panic. Larus was on his way from Canopus with 1,000 cruisers of the Interstellar Patrol that had been at headquarters, and in response to his commands, flashed across the whole galaxy. Every fighting ship in the patrol was making for Betelgeuse. Yes, from every part of the galaxy they were coming, those lean, long hawks of space, from the great trade routes between the bigger suns, from lonely regions in uncharted parts of the galaxy. Rushing at reckless speed through the perils of the void, the ships of the Interstellar Patrol came in answer to their chief's call. Meanwhile, all the worlds of the suns in the threatened section at the galaxy's edge were being swiftly evacuated of their inhabitants. Interstellar liners and freighters in hundreds of thousands swarmed from those worlds to suns back in the galaxy, carrying their whole populations to suns and worlds more safe. Out beside Great Betelgeuse, at the galaxy's very edge, I lay waiting with my squadron. My ships still maintained their triangular formation. We had climbed several light years above the plane of the threatened suns, and now lay in the void, Juldine and Coruscant and I watching intently through our instruments, as the dark stars in the outer void rushed toward us. Nearer and nearer they came, still flying on in a compact group. "They're beginning to slow down," muttered Juldine, watching. "If Larus and the rest of the patrol don't show up soon, they'll be too late." "Here they come now," exclaimed Coruscant. We turned and saw racing toward us thousands on thousands of shining points that became cruisers as they neared us. Foremost among them flew the flagship of Larus, and the chief's craft drew up close beside our own. "Almost the whole strength of the patrol is here, Durnal," Larus told me on the space phone. "What about the dark stars?" "They're almost here too," I said grimly. "You can see them out there." There was silence as Larus and all the rest in our fleet peered toward those 20 onrushing giant globes. "They're almost here, sir," I said. "What are your orders for attack?" "We'll divide into 20 divisions, one to attack each of those dark stars," Larus ordered. "Each division will descend on its objective and beam everything upon it as heavily as possible, trying especially to destroy the controls of the propulsion apparatus. We will not attack until they actually start dragging away suns, for if they find themselves unable to seize any of our suns as they plan, they will no doubt return to their own galaxy, and there will be no need of combat. We watched, therefore, without making a move, as the score of dark stars drew nearer. The scene was a thrilling one. The hosts of the galaxy's shining suns stretching away behind us, the myriad cruisers of our great fleet lying motionless up there high above the outermost suns, the 20 huge black stars booming nearer on their ruthless mission of intergalactic piracy. The dark stars were now at the galaxy's edge, and there they separated. Each of them moved toward one of the suns below, and each selected a hot, youthful sun of large or medium size. Directly under my own ship, we could see one of the dark stars approaching a blue sun, curving smoothly in toward it. "It can't be done," Juldin exclaimed tautly. "Nothing can drag a sun away." "But they're doing it," cried Chorus Khan. "Look at that." The dark star had come very close to the blue sun, and now from its surface a broad, pale beam of immense magnitude stabbed toward the sun. For a few moments they remained thus, dark star and sun connected by that beam. Then the dark star began to move slowly away under the influence of its propulsion apparatus, and the blue sun moved slowly after it. "They're doing it," repeated Chorus Khan. "They're towing that sun away." "And look, all the other dark stars are dragging away suns," cried the astounded Juldin. It was an astounding, an awful spectacle, those robber dark stars of the machines making away with 20 of our suns. Larus's voice snapped at that moment from the space phone. Our fleet divided into 20 subdivisions, each with one of the dark stars as its objective. Then came the order to attack. Down, down like swooping hawks of space, our cruisers rushed headlong down through the millions of miles toward the dark stars, towing away their helpless prey. And up from each of the dark stars to meet us, as though they had only been awaiting our attack, darted hosts of the disk like flying mechanisms. There was a hell of cosmic struggle then over the 20 dark stars. So appalling was the inferno of that battle that I lost all sense of the individual part our ship took in it. I was aware of Juldin and Chorus Khan yelling hoarsely beside me as the beams of our ship stabbed and smashed through the masses of the darting flying machines. Then I saw brilliant filaments of blue force emitted from the flying mechanisms toward our cruisers, saw every cruiser touched by them explode instantly into blue light. Ships and flying mechanisms went to death by hundreds in space all around us. Our cruisers still strove to smash down through the machines to the surface of the dark stars. For even while this wild combat went on above them, the dark stars were still steadily towing their captive suns on out into space. The flying mechanisms outnumbered us 2 to 1, and despite our wild efforts, we could not get through them to the worlds beneath, and more of our ships were exploding in azure light as the filaments of force found a mark. 3/4 of our force had been destroyed, and it looked as though the rest of us would be wiped out in a few minutes, when there came an order from the chief. "All ships break off fighting and ascend," ordered Larus. What cruisers were left us at once disengaged from the struggle and darted upward. The flying mechanisms pursued us, but we beamed them so savagely from above that they dropped back. We climbed 2 light years before Larus gave our shattered forces the order to halt and resume formation. "The machines have destroyed all but 1/4 of our ships," he said. "They outnumber us, and to continue the battle is only to invite complete destruction." "But, sir, we can't let them take those 20 suns away," cried one of the captains on the space phone. "I'm afraid we'll have to this time," Larus said. "But they will be coming back for more suns, and the next time we will be ready for them." "But, sir," protested another officer, and was cut short by the chief's grim voice. "I know how you of the patrol feel at thus letting them take those suns away. But we can do no good by sacrificing ourselves at this time, and must have all the forces available to meet them when they come again. We will return into the galaxy, except for 2 scouting divisions, which will remain and keep watch along the edge." Grimly, with bitter thoughts, Our shattered forces moved back into the galaxy, leaving the patrolling force behind. "Beaten," Juldin exclaimed unbelievingly. "The Interstellar Patrol beaten by those machines." "We're not completely beaten, Juldin," I told him. "They've won the first round, but when they come back again, it will be a different story." "But we've let them take 20 of our suns away from us," he said, "as easily as though we weren't there at all. When our remaining forces re-entered the galaxy, we found it in uproar. News of the success of the machine Corsairs in robbing us of 20 suns had already flashed everywhere across it. It was known that the machines would return for more suns, and in view of what had happened, it seemed probable that they could loot our galaxy of as many suns as they wished. Larousse broadcast a statement to allay the general fear. "The machines greatly outnumbered our forces, and for that reason we were unable to prevent them from towing away 20 suns," he stated. "But they will without doubt return to plunder us of more suns, and before then we must construct as many ships as possible with which to meet them. If we have forces enough, we should be able to prevent the theft of any more suns." Preparations were begun almost at once to build up sufficient forces to meet the cosmic Corsairs on their return. Thousands on thousands of new patrol cruisers were hastily laid down to replace those destroyed in the battle. Beams of greater range and power were installed in them. It was estimated that we would have twice as many ships to meet the next coming of the Corsairs as when we first had combated them. We would be meeting them on something like even terms as to numbers. "By the suns, we'll blast them out of space when they show up next time," Juldin vowed. Coruscant was not so sure. "Their weapons are more powerful than our own," he reminded. Our new ships were hardly completed when there came warning of the Corsairs' return. Our astronomers had watched them closely as they towed our score of suns steadily across the void toward their own distant galaxy. Now the astronomers reported that the 20 dark stars were on their way back to our galaxy. Larousse ordered a patrol far out into space in the direction of the oncoming Corsairs. Our main forces remained just inside the galaxy's edge. All worlds of suns there had been evacuated. Soon came word from the patrol that the dark stars were close. Larousse ordered our scouts not to engage but to keep just ahead of them. Again, Juldin and Coruscant and I looked down from a great height at the oncoming dead suns of the buccaneering machines. They swept steadily, purposefully, toward our galaxy's edge again. But this time, Larousse did not wait for them to attach themselves to suns. He ordered the attack at once. If our first battle with the machines had been wild, our second one was madness. The flying mechanisms still outnumbered our ships slightly, and they fought like the machines they were, with cold, relentless purpose. And as they fought with us, the dark stars on which they had come were being directed smoothly toward our suns, hooking onto a sun each with their great attraction beams, and starting again to tow these suns out into the void. At this sight, Larousse flashed an order to us. "Try above all to get down and cripple the propulsion apparatus of those dark stars. If we don't, they'll get away with these suns too." "They're getting away with them now," groaned Juldin. "Curse them. If they were only living creatures instead of machines, we might be able to beat them." Already a third of our forces were gone, and at Larouss's new order, we spent our ships at an appalling rate to wing down and disable the dirigible dark stars. It was in vain. The flying mechanisms kept always between us and the dark stars below, and steadily as the wild battle raged above them, those dark stars were dragging away their second capture of suns. One only did our forces manage to disable. There had been a break in the battle above it for a moment, and through that break, 2 patrol cruisers cometed down instantly and crashed deliberately into the controls of that world. At once, that dark star slowed and drifted rudderless in space, circling aimlessly with the sun it had been towing away. The machines deserted it and darted on to help protect the other 19 that were dragging their suns onward. We followed those 19 dark stars and their prey fiercely out into space, never ceasing our attacks. 2/3 of our force was annihilated before Larousse gave over the attack. The machines had again had much the best of it, and now outnumbered us by an even greater margin. His voice was heavy as he gave the order that signified our defeat. All ships returned toward the galaxy. We were silent as our remnant of ships returned. "It's no good," said Coruscant finally. "The machines are stronger than we are, and though we'll fight them when they come again, they'll take our suns despite us. We'll stop them somehow." Jules Din asserted. "The patrol has met a lot of enemies in its time and beaten them, and it will beat these cursed mindless things of metal." "I confess that I don't see how it can be done," I answered him. "We've met them twice now, and each time they've defeated us." Laclarus's voice came to me shortly on the space phone. "Donal, land your ship on that disabled dark star," he said. "I want to examine it with you." I gave the pilot the order, and we detached ourselves from the rest of the fleet and headed toward the dark star. It still drifted aimlessly outside the galaxy's edge. It and the sun it had been towing away when crippled now circling each other. When we landed on it beside the ship of Laclarus and emerged in spacesuits, we found the dark star's surface held only some wrecks of machines that had been shattered by our beams. No living or moving machine was left upon that world. Larus led toward the huge panel and levers the two down-crashing cruisers had wrecked. "I want to examine the controls of this thing," he said. Jules Din was looking at the fragments of machines around us with some little satisfaction. "At least some of them knew they met up with us," he said. We came to the shattered controls and examined them closely. Coruscant was especially interested. "These dark stars are propelled by great generators of propulsion vibrations, as I thought," he said. "The beams they use to pull suns away are simply attractive rays of immense power released from a huge projector." "So that's how they do it," Laclarus said. "Well, I'm afraid it makes small difference to us how they do it, as long as they continue to do it." But I clutched Coruscant's arm. A sudden thought had entered my brain with his words. "Coruscant, could the scientists of our galaxy duplicate this propulsion apparatus and attractive beam?" I cried. He looked at me, puzzled. "I suppose so. I don't see why not when the principle is clear." "And we could install them in dark stars just as the machines did," I pressed. "Yes, that would not be hard. But why do you ask, Donal?" "Because I've found a way to get back our stolen suns and whip those machines once and for all," I cried. "What do you mean, Donal?" asked Laclarus quickly. Swiftly I explained. "Suppose we take 100 of the dark stars in our galaxy and fit them with propulsion apparatus and attraction beams like this one. Then suppose we sail across space with those 100 dark stars to the galaxy of the machines and take our suns back from them," cried Coruscant, his eyes blazing. "If we can do it, by the suns we can do it," cried Jules Din. "It's a way to get back our stolen suns and smash the machine people." "Donal, you may have found the right answer," Laclarus told me. "The thing you propose is stupendous, but it seems to be the only course open to us to win. We'll assemble all the scientists and workers in the galaxy if necessary to get this done," he added. Within hours, the hastily summoned scientists of our galaxy had pronounced our plan practicable, and preparations had begun. Swiftly, cruisers of the Interstellar Patrol went forth and located 100 dark stars of the dimensions needed. There are hosts of such dead suns booming along in the galaxy's spaces, and it was not hard to find 100 of suitable size. Meanwhile, all the scientific ability of the galaxy had been thrown into the manufacture of huge generators and propulsion and attractive vibrations. In an incredibly short time, these were completed and transported to the 100 selected dark stars. They were installed so that the dark stars could be propelled in space at great speed in any direction and could fasten onto and tow any sun or body of stellar size. Giant defensive beam batteries were also installed. When the first dark star was so equipped, I gave it its tests. Standing with Coruscant and Jules Din at its controls, and with Laclarus watching beside us, I turned on the power. The huge dead sun moved away through space in perfect answer to its controls. I speeded it up, slowed it, turned sharply and circled it around a few suns to make sure of its tractability. Then we tried the attractive beam. Coruscant handled the controls of this, and with it we hooked onto a medium-sized sun. Then, as I started our dark star forward through space again, we found that we towed the sun steadily along with us. "It's successful," Laclarus exclaimed, "and all the others will be ready soon. As soon as they're ready, we'll start for the galaxy of the machines," he said. before they've time to come back here again. Rapidly, the others of the 100 dark stars were equipped and tested. Larus took one as the flagship of the stupendous fleet. At his order, we drove our dark star chariot outside the galaxy's edge, and there the whole 100 massed together. We formed in columns of 10, the dark star of Larus taking a position a little ahead of the rest of us. Then, Larus gave an order on the space phones which had been fitted to all our worlds, and as one, our fleet of 100 dark stars began to move through space toward the soft, hazy patch of light that was the distant galaxy of the machines. Our caravan was on its way to retrieve our stolen suns, in the mightiest venture yet undertaken by the Interstellar Patrol. Jules was exultant. "By the suns, this is better than driving ships," he exclaimed, "driving dark stars to battle." "There'll be all the battle you want when we reach the galaxy of the machines," I told him grimly. "You're going to follow out our original plan?" I asked Larus on the space phone, and he answered in the affirmative. "It's a risky one, but I believe it is the best one." We hurtled on in the void toward the distant galaxy of the machines. Slowly, very slowly, despite our immense speed, it grew in apparent size. It grew from a little patch of light to a cloud of tiny points of light. And as it grew, our own galaxy shrank astern. Coruscant and Jules and I relieved each other at the controls of the dark star. We kept our place in the general formation, the dark star of Larus still leading. There was something magnificent and awful in this cosmic march of our 100 dead suns through space to retrieve our stolen suns and take vengeance on those who had stolen them. The galaxy of the machine people grew into a great cloud of stars across the firmament. With eager eyes we surveyed it. "It seems about the same size as our own galaxy," Larus commented. "But it has far more dying suns than ours." Yes, as the machines had told us, this galaxy of theirs contained hosts of dying suns, old, red, and cold. They greatly outnumbered the suns still hot with life. Small wonder that the machines had sought for new, young suns to replenish their waning universe. "I see some of our own suns in there," Coruscant exclaimed. "The ones they took from us." "Yes, I see them," Larus said. "If all goes well, we'll soon be taking them back." As we neared the galaxy of the machines, Larus gave 100 dark stars their orders. 39 of us were assigned to hook onto the stolen suns and tow them back at once toward our own galaxy. The other 61, including Larus's dark star and my own also, were to wreak all the destruction in their power upon the machine's galaxy. We drew steadily nearer and soon were very close to the galaxy ahead. There was no sign that any of the machines in it were aware of our approach. "They can't have seen us coming," Jules commented. "They've no idea we could come at all," I responded. "They're probably busy placing the last suns they took from us. Our dark stars would be hardly visible to them." Soon came the voice of Larus in final orders. "We are now about to enter this galaxy," he said. "Remember your duties, and let nothing stop you." Like rushing spheres of blackness, our 100 dark stars raced into the galaxy of the machines. Once inside, we separated. The 39 assigned to retrieve our 39 stolen suns sped directly, each toward one of those suns. The rest of us darted forward on our dark stars after the leading one of Larus. Our purpose was to destroy as many of that galaxy's suns as possible by dragging them into one another. Before the machines that peopled their worlds were aware of our presence, we had begun. Larus drove his dark star toward a small white sun at that galaxy's edge, hooked onto it with his attractive beam, and towed it quickly toward a blue sun off to the left. When near the blue sun, he released the one he towed, and it rushed on of its own accord, crashed head-on into the blue star. The two colliding suns melted into a cloud of flame that whiffed away the worlds of both of them in an instant. While Larus was thus employed, the rest of us were not idle. I had driven our own dark star toward a large red sun some distance inside, and now I yelled for Coruscant to hook onto it with our attractive beam. He did so, and as I put on power, we dragged the red sun after us toward a double star not far from it. We cast loose just before we reached the double star. I shot our dark star past it, and the red sun drifting after us struck the twin star squarely. The cosmic outrush of flame from that collision almost reached our own hurtling world before we got out of reach. Off to one side, 3 of our dark stars had seized another double star, this one of huge dimensions, and were dragging it toward a great green sun. And further in, one of our forces had got hold of an aged red sun that was almost too big for it to handle, and was tugging it slowly toward its doom. All around us, this stupendous process of wreckage was going on, and we were part of it. Space inside that galaxy seemed filled with booming dark stars and suns being dragged to flaming death. I glimpsed some of the 39 of our force assigned to that duty seizing our stolen suns and towing them toward outer space. From the worlds of the suns we were destroying came clouds of flying mechanisms rushing to attack us. But the giant beam batteries installed on our dark stars blasted them out of space as they came near. And still our smashing of suns went on. Juldin and Coruscant yelled with exultation as we towed still another sun to collision and doom. I saw Laris's dark star some distance away rapidly stripping the worlds from a sun and towing them into another sun. Then Coruscant cried out, pointed. "Look, the dark stars of the machines!" I made out dim. Huge shapes rushing toward us across that galaxy. The machine's dark stars. Through the wild wreckage of crashing and flaring suns and worlds, 19 dark stars were bearing down on us. They were the dark stars with which the machines had gone across space to steal our suns. Now they were rushing to battle us. The scene that followed was beyond description. The machines meant to stop our wrecking activities at any cost to themselves, and they drove their dark stars straight toward our own. A half-dozen of them crashed into that many of our dark stars in the first rush. As they collided, dark star and dark star blazed up in hot new life. Again and again they rushed at us headlong as we dragged and wrecked their suns. They never hesitated to collide with us. They fought with magnificent, mindless courage to stop our wrecking activities. But at last the last of them was gone. Though more than 20 of our own dark stars had been destroyed in the collisions that had ensued when the machines rammed them. All space around us now seemed filled with the wild flare of collided suns. "All dark stars retreat back into space," came Laris's order. "Our work here is finished." "Are all our own suns retrieved?" I asked him on the space phone. "Yes, our other dark stars towed them out into space and they're all clear." Quickly I turned my dark star and sent it booming with the others after Laris. Out of that ravaged galaxy, outside in space waited the 39 dark stars that had retrieved our 39 stolen suns. "We got them all back," cried Juldin. "Didn't I tell you that we would, that nothing could beat the patrol? Head toward our own galaxy," Laris ordered. "Keep at half speed, as those of us towing suns can't go so fast." Slowly, towing our 39 suns with us, we headed away through space toward the dim light patch of our own galaxy. Looking back, we saw that the galaxy of the machines was lit in many places by the flaring fire of collided suns. We stared back for a long time at the stupendous damage which we had done to that universe. "It'll be a long time before they will come buccaneering again for our suns," predicted Juldin. "And if they ever do come again, we can defeat them now that we have powers equal to their own," I added. "We'd rather not war with the machines nor with anyone else. But we have fought for our suns, and as long as the patrol lasts, we are going to keep them." And so ends another chapter in the daring saga of the Corsairs of the Cosmos. With their latest adventure behind them, Captain Zephyr and his crew continue to race through the stars, chasing fortune and glory in a universe where nothing is certain. But what new challenges lie ahead for these fearless space pirates? Stay tuned for the next thrilling installment, and remember, in the endless expanse of the cosmos, adventure is always just around the corner.